This is my first video on the fungus, which include mushrooms, mold, and yeast. This is going to be one of three, so this is going to be more illustrative. My second one, I'm going to go into more, I believe, the chemistry of mold and yeast. And the third one, I'm just going to go over everything we can do to improve our immune system to protect ourselves from mold and yeast infections. Now, I'm going to leave a link to another video of mine in the description box, and that's going to go over, there's a portion of that video that's going to go over how to protect ourselves from Candida, which is a type of yeast infection. So I'll leave that in the description box, so you can just click on that if you want and just take a look at the board, because it's all listed on the board in one of my other videos. Again, so this is going to be more illustrative than applicable. Anyways, this is the first video on fungus, mushrooms, mold, and yeast. They are eukaryotic cells, which means that these cells have compartments in them that are called organelles, like our cells. Our mammalian cells are also eukaryotic cells. Bacteria do not have these compartments, and so that's a distinguishing difference between fungus and bacteria, is that fungus, which include mushrooms, mold, and yeast, have these organelles that are more like our mammalian cells than they are bacterial cells. Okay, so fungus are heterotrophs, which means that they require organic material for energy and carbon. Now, there is a large family, if you will, of fungi called Zygomycota, and they are saprobic fungi, which means that they break down organic material from dying organisms. And again, this is a type of fungi called Zygomycota, and it's these fungi that are more likely to spoil vegetables, fruit, and they are often found on bread. Now, the important point here is that, generally speaking, mold and yeast and fungal infections are secondary infections. They are not primary infections. So generally speaking, if you have a healthy immune system, you are unlikely to suffer from a fungal infection. However, if you do have a health condition or a poor immune system, that is when you are likely to suffer from a fungal infection. And in the case of Zygomycota, if you are suffering from specifically leukemia, burns, malnutrition, uncontrolled diabetes, in a case where your overall pH drops, that increases the risk of you suffering from an infection from Zygomycota, which is called zygomycosis. Now, fungal infections often start in the lungs, nose, skin, or oral cavity. Now, here's the important point here, is that fungi are constantly in the air we breathe. So it's really important to have a high-functioning immune system, because these fungi are really hard to escape from our environment. Now, again, any fungus can cause an infection when the host's immune system is severely compromised. Now, there have been about 100,000 different types of fungi that we have identified, and about 300 are linked to animal disease. And most of them are harmful to plants. So, nevertheless, any fungus is liable to cause a secondary infection if your immune system is severely compromised when you are suffering from another disease. Now, symptoms of a fungal infection can include fever, sweating, shortness of breath, chronic cough, aches, pains, appetite, depression, weight loss, weakness, loss of energy, and depression. So those are just some symptoms of a fungal infection. Again, they tend to start in the lungs, nose, skin, or oral cavity. So most infections that we suffer in terms of fungal infections are called opportunistic pathogens, which means that if your immune system is already compromised, that is the point where a fungal infection becomes more likely. There are cases that you can suffer what's called a true fungal infection, and that's when a fungus invades and grows in a person with a healthy immune system. I don't have the list of these fungus on the board here. They seemed kind of exotic to me in my textbook, so I omitted them from this video. But the takeaway here is that fungus is everywhere. You know, it's hard to escape, so it's important to keep your immune system up. And again, I'm going to leave a link to another video in the description box along with my sources for this video. And I'm going to put at least 2 more videos on fungus up. And the third one is where I'm really going to suss out everything we can do to help prevent a fungal infection.